Hello VR gamers, today we've got 5 essential tips and tricks to make you a better boxer in Thrill of the Fight, the premier boxing simulation on the Oculus Quest and other VR devices. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into it with tip number 1, go for weak points. If you just can't seem to ever knock down your opponent in Thrill of the Fight, then this tip will show you exactly why. You'll notice that when you hit your opponent, that a little splash of color accompanies every shot that you hit. You'll often see that these little color splashes are gray or maybe even yellow. If you get a really good hit, then they'll be orange or even red for maximum damage. Though if you're really wailing on your opponent and landing hard hits, you might still be doing gray or yellow damage. Well, hitting faster and harder always helps, but the main way to make sure your punches do as much damage as possible to your opponents are weak points. There is one in the center of the chest, one on the right side, one under the chin, 2 on either sides of the chin, and 2 on either sides of the head. Hitting these weak points increases your damage by a lot, and if you really want to do enough to knock down your opponent, you need to hit them. The best place to find out where exactly these weak points are and practice hitting them is the practice dummy. Seriously, you have to use it at least once to get a feel for where to hit your opponents. Sure, the dummy doesn't move, but a minute of practice swinging at it before you start fighting real enemies will increase your odds of hitting weak points a lot and is completely worth it. If you want to knock your opponent down, then a flurry of low damage blows isn't the way to do it. Focus on doing a lot of damage with a single punch by hitting them in one of the weak points. Tip number 2, keep your hands up. The second thing you'll need after a good offense that can actually knock out your opponent is a good defense so they don't knock you out. Luckily, your hands are very effective at defending in Thrill of the Fight. Hits bounce right off of them with ease, and so the best way to put up an effective defense is to just keep your hands up. If one of your hands isn't punching, then it should be covering your head. Sure, you can get hit in the body as well, but nothing will put you out of commission faster in a fight than a hook to the side of your skull, so keep those hands up. Good footwork is also important, though it might not be as useful for you if your play space is very small. Even if you're boxing in a space so small that you can't move your feet to get a little distance or close distance with your opponent, you can still benefit from moving your upper body and head around while keeping your feet firmly planted on the ground. Ducking and dodging out of the way of incoming blows is also a very effective defensive tactic, and you can also land a couple of hits on your opponent while you're moving out of the way of their blow. Tip number 3, damage is debilitating. You'll notice that your screen will go gray when you take a particularly nasty hit in Thrill of the Fight. While luckily physical pain isn't transferable across a VR headset, this gray screen does show you how much you are hurt in the game. Once your vision goes gray, you should immediately break off any attack you're doing and go on the defensive. One solid hit on you while your vision looks like this, and you'll probably end up on the floor of the arena. You also deal far less damage while you're injured, so continuing to attack will probably be ineffective until you take a few seconds to recover and your vision returns to normal. All of your punches deal far less damage when you're hurt. The same also applies to the enemy fighter. After you land a particularly devastating blow, you might notice that your opponent's head starts wobbling. You also might notice that they attack you far less when they're in this state and will generally just block and take a few seconds to recover before trying to attack. While they still might punch back depending on which opponent you're fighting and which difficulty level you're fighting them on, it's a good idea to press an attack when you've already hit your opponent hard. Your damage will stack up on them, and the best way to knock down an enemy fighter is not to depend on a single hit, but to focus on several hard hits to weak points until they go down. You won't have a lot of time to land another hit though, so go in and take your chance quickly before they recover and start attacking you back. Tip number 4, low damage punches are still important. So a few high damage hits in a short period of time is the best way to knock out your opponent. But what about all of those places on their body that aren't weak points? Well, they're not useless places to attack. Sure, getting a knockout with purely body shots is extremely difficult, though landing a hit in your opponent's sides can still do some decent damage. What's great about attacking low damage areas like the face or body is that your opponent will move their hands to block that area after you hit it. So if you land a devastating right hook on your opponent's head, they will move their hands to protect the sides of their head, but you'll need to land more high damage hits to knock them out. Their chin is open, but uppercuts are hard and maybe you're not good at them. So just punch them square in the face or body a couple of times. Soon, they'll move their guard and give you another opening to attack the weak points on their chin or the sides of their head. Rotating your attacks will frustrate the enemy's defenses and give you a chance to hit weak points quickly in a short period of time. Tip number 5, pace yourself and take breaks. Of course, even if you haven't taken any damage in-game, your punches will still be ineffective if your actual body is physically exhausted. Thrill of the Fight is a really intense game, and it can make you tired very quickly if you're not used to it. That's why it's important to take the previous tips to heart when planning your attacks. A few devastating and well-aimed punches are less tiring than a bunch of weak and ineffective punches. If you're starting to get winded during a fight, then go defensive. If you want to win, your odds of hitting, blocking, and dodging effectively go way down when you're tired. So unless you've only got a little time left and really need to get a knockout quickly to win, you can give yourself a breather and just focus on not getting hit for a while until you've caught your breath and are ready to go on the offense again. It's also important to drink plenty of water because Thrill of the Fight is a workout no matter how you play it and will make you sweat. Feel free to cool down a bit between matches and walk around in circles for a while and maybe do some basic stretches to stay limber. Thrill of the Fight is a fantastic game, but it will be no fun if you're struggling to breathe. Wipe the sweat off of your face and out of your eyes and give yourself a breather before jumping back in. Well, those are all the Thrill of the Fight tips and tricks I've got for you today. If you want more about Thrill of the Fight, then check out realityremake.com for more articles about this fantastic game. As always, good luck and have fun out there, and get those knockouts in the ring.